folk singer is dead after she was attacked by a pair of coyotes.
What is the monkey doing? Tell me what the monkey...
He ripped your face off!
We actually have a trainer in the water with one of our whales.
If I show weakness, if I retreat, I may be hurt, I may be killed.
Baby Azaria Chamberlain was taken by a dingo back in 1980.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Man Eaters, the only true crime podcast on the entire flippin' internet, where all the killers are real animals, whether it's biting, scratchings, maulings, or clawings. We're here to talk about it. I say flippin' because I've decided today we are doing a no swearing episode. I think that, listenership is down, and I think if I'm not engaging some really important audiences, which is children. This should be a family show. I know years ago I got a complaint from a listener that I did too much swearing and he couldn't listen to it with his kids. And so we're turning things around now. I'm going to do my best to not swear for the entire episode. Let's see how long I can keep that up. Welcome to a brand new episode of the show. Today we're talking about some really creepy crawlies, some yucky, sucky, fucky, bastard, poo. Damn it, I swore already. Bugger. Is bugger a swear? It doesn't matter. We're talking about Parasites today, and I'm not talking about that incredible Korean film by Bong Joon-ho. You have to say it like that. It's racist to not say it like that. No, we're talking about actual parasites, the ones that live in your guts and make wormies in your belly. Really, really disgusting stuff today, guys. So really looking forward to it. A lot of you have been asking for where's the gross stuff? This podcast isn't gross enough. Well, I'm here to tell you that today it's absolutely going to be gross. Thank you to everyone who has sent through nice little messages here and there. I know that I'm pretty sure in the most recent episode, or maybe the episode before that, I said, hey, we're back to doing an episode a week. And then my life got completely fudged. So I'm trying to keep up. There's a lot going on. I'm very busy. I'm very stressed, but I would never neglect you. I need you to know that. The listener of this show, I love you more than I love my own. I nearly said wife. I shouldn't say that. Life. I love you more than I love my life. I would lay down my life for any one of you, except for Garrett, who is a bit of a weirdo. I'm going to be honest, Garrett, and there's nothing you can say to convince me otherwise. No medical diagnosis explains what you do, Garrett. I'm sorry. All right, shall we get into the parasites? I think we should sit back, maybe grab a vomit bag, because this is going to get kind of gross. And let's talk about some unseen invaders, the parasites. Ugh, yucky. So, listen up, dear listener, because you and I live in a world that is positively crawling with uninvited guests. Organisms that are so alien, so insidious, that they live inside of us. No, my religious friend. They're not demons and they're not beasts, but they are parasitic worms that hijack our bodies, turning them into travel brochures of disease. This episode is going to explore how just a few of these parasites emerge from the shadows to become human nightmares. Ugh. Now, among the world's most grotesque parasites, few match that of the guinea worm. Racist name, by the way. Now, the guinea worm is unparalleled for its sheer drama and body horror. It's known scientifically as Draconculus medinicensis. That's probably not how you pronounce it. And this nearly eradicated nematode is a relic of an age where contaminated water could be a death sentence, or at the very least, the beginning of a long and agonizing and disgusting ordeal. This infection begins with something as simple and as distinctive as a sip of water. In certain parts of rural Africa and Asia, people have historically relied on stagnant ponds or shallow waterholes for drinking water. These sources can be teeming with tiny water fleas, copepods, that have in turn swallowed the larvae of guinea worms. Now, once inside a human host, the copod dies and releases the larvae, which passes through the stomach lining and settles into the body cavity. There, they grow, undisturbed, for the better part of a year. When fully grown, the female guinea worm can reach lengths of up to a meter. Not content with remaining hidden, she then begins a slow migration through the tissue, usually to the lower limbs. Her goal here isn't the death of the host or herself, but escape. Around the time that she's ready to release her offspring, she triggers a blister on the surface of the victim's skin. The blister burns intensely, often causing the host to seek relief by plunging the affected area into water. This, of course, is exactly what that sneaky worm wants. Upon contact with the water, she bursts through the skin like a chest burster, an alien, and releases hundreds of thousands of larvae, which are promptly swallowed by new copods. Thus, the cycle begins anew. Now, there is no vaccine for the guinea worm disease. There's no cure, there's no pill, there's no injection. Treatment is painfully primitive. The worm is extracted manually, a few centimeters at a time, and wrapped around a stick. This process can take weeks. If the worm breaks during extraction, it can trigger a severe inflammation and secondary infection. Victims are often left unable to walk or work, with complications that linger far beyond the worm's final exit. At its peak in the 1980s, guinea worm disease afflicted over 3.5 million people annually across more than 20 countries. Today, thank you to the relentless work of many health organizations, most notably the Carter Center, this disease is on the verge of eradication. In 2024, only a handful of cases were recorded, mostly in Chad, South Sudan, and Angola. This makes guinea worm one of the few human diseases that might actually be wiped off the planet without the use of vaccines or modern drugs. Just good old-fashioned public health orders, education, clean water, and keeping infected individuals away from water sources. Now, interestingly, some people believe that the ancient symbol of medicine, the serpent wrapped around a staff, may have actually originated from the image of a guinea worm being pulled from the body. If this is true, it is a chilling and honestly quite foul origin story for what has become a universal icon of healing. Now, the guinea worm might be a fading threat, but it does remain a very somber example of how nature can weaponize itself in even the smallest of creatures. And the guinea worm is not the only of these small creatures that we're going to be talking about today. We're, of course, also going to be talking about blood flukes. Blood flukes. That's the name of an animal that I hate. Imagine wading into a warm, calm river. Ooh, take yourself there. Imagine that. You're walking to a nice river. You feel the mud between your toes, the water lapping. We should put some music on in the background. Let's do that. Some nice calming walking into the river music. Go for it. African drum circle. You ruined the immersion. Prick. Ass. Anyway, you feel the mud between your toes, the water lapping gently around your calves. However, unseen, microscopic creatures are moving with purpose towards you. Within moments, they've pierced your skin, but you won't feel that because there's no bite, there's no sting. The damage, however, has already been done. Now, these invaders are called blood flukes, also known as schistosomes. I'm going to just call them blood flukes. They're blood-dwelling parasitic flatworms responsible for a disease called schistosomiosis, a condition that affects over 200 million people worldwide. Now, schistosomes are flukes, a type of parasitic worm, but they aren't content to loiter in your intestines like some of their more mundane cousins. These creatures are more ambitious. Once inside their body, they head for the bloodstream. Their goal? To make home in your veins, where they can mate and lay thousands of eggs. That's right, they're fucking in your veins. How gross is that? The life cycle of blood flukes is a bizarre relay race between humans and freshwater snails. It starts with eggs excreted in human urine or feces, usually in regions lacking proper sanitation. If those eggs manage to reach fresh water, they hatch into free-swimming larvae that seek out and infect a very specific type of snail. Inside the snail, the larvae multiply and transform into a new, faster form, cercare, fork-tailed swimmers primed to penetrate human skin. Once they've burrowed in, they discard their tails and start migrating through the blood vessels, through the lungs and the liver until they settle in the veins near the intestines or the bladder. There, the male and female worms pair up. Oh, so romantic. Unlike many parasites, blood flukes, well, they're a little bit romantic. The male forms a canal in his body where the female lives. Oh, it's like the ultimate form of being the little spoon. Together, they produce a staggering number of eggs. Some of these eggs exit the body as intended, but many get trapped in the host's tissues. It's not just the worms that cause most of the damage here, it's actually these misplaced eggs. These can cause fierce immune reactions, causing inflammation, scarring, and chronic pain. Over time, this can lead to liver damage, kidney failure, bladder cancer, and severe gastrointestinal or urogenital complications. Children are particularly vulnerable, often suffering from anemia, stunted growth, and learning difficulties due to long-term infection. And because the symptoms can be vague at first, fatigue, rash, low-grade fever, many people don't even realize they're infected until all the complications are irreversible. Now, unlike the guinea worm, which we just talked about, there actually is a treatment for schizomyosis. It's praziquantel, a drug that kills adult worms. It's cheap and it's effective, but it doesn't prevent the actual infection. In areas where people depend on fresh water sources for bathing, washing, and drinking, schizomyosis spreads easily and endlessly. Prevention efforts focus on snail control, water sanitation, and public education, but in many regions, infrastructure challenges make these goals quite difficult to achieve. One of the more surreal aspects of schizome infection is intimacy. These worms don't just live in your body, they live in your bloodstream. They're entwined in a long-term monogamous pairing, laying eggs in your veins. Some live inside the human hosts for a decade or even more. You can think of them as blood-borne squatters with a disgusting and disturbing dedication to reproduction. In evolutionary terms, blood flukes are masterful parasites. They don't kill quickly, they don't need to. Instead, they siphon off years of health, weakening their host just enough to ensure the cycle continues. Blood flukes, it's a slow burn, and it's a parasite's long con. And it all begins with just a simple, relaxing walk in the water. Let's play that relaxing music finally. Damn it. God fucking Christ. Ugh, gross. Okay, speaking of gross, this might be the grossest name for a parasite that we're going to have today. The rat lungworm. Gross. The rat lungworm. Ugh. It's also called, let me see if I can get this, Angiostrongylus cantonensis. We're just going to keep calling it the rat lungworm, or ratty, for fun. Ratty is a tiny nematode with an elaborate life cycle and a fatal flaw. Sometimes it ends up in the wrong host. Hasn't that ever happened to you? You've ended up in the wrong host. I don't really know how that would work. In its natural system, it circulates quietly between rats and snails. But when human beings get in the way by accident, it can trigger a nightmarish condition known as, how do I say this one? Encephalic meningitis, an inflammation of the membrane surrounding the brain and the spinal cord. Now, the story begins in rats, where all good stories should. My favorite movie is Ratatouille. Anyway, the story begins in rats, where adult worms live in the pulmonary arteries, which are the blood vessels that connect the heart to the lungs. Here, they mate and they lay eggs. These eggs hatch in the lungs, and the juvenile worms crawl up the rat's windpipe. Ugh, they get swallowed and then are excreted in the feces. Ugh. Oh, that's so bad. This is where the snails and slugs come in. These dirty little boys, well, they feast on rat droppings. It's a niche diet, to be sure, and they ingest the larvae, which then mature inside their soft, little, supple bodies. Just made myself laugh then. Then, somewhere in a garden or a salad bar, an ambitious foraging trip, a human consumes one of these infected snails, or even just a slime trail on unwashed produce. The larval worm enters the body expecting a rat, and instead they get us. Disappointing. Inside the human, they can't really complete their life cycle, but they do what they still can. They migrate towards the brain. Now, it's there that things really start to unravel. The immune system responds to the intruders with fury, sending waves of white blood cells into the brain's lining. Victims can experience headaches, neck stiffness, nausea, numbness, and extreme sensitivity to light. In some cases, the worms burrow deeper, causing paralysis, coma, or even death. Now, outbreaks of ratty have occurred in places like Hawaii, Southeast Asia, and the Pacific Islands, and increasingly in warmer parts of the southern United States. The culprit is usually undercooked snail meat or contaminated produce, but even tiny, unnoticed juvenile slugs in a salad have caused infections. I'm really surprised that the French haven't had this happen to them. You know, seeing how much they love to eat snails, those disgusting frogs. If you're from France, I'm joking. I love you. I love your country. It's nice. I went to Disney World there. Flatworms that prey on snails, like the New Guinea flatworm, also serve as carriers. Now, there's no specific cure for ratty. Treatment focuses on managing symptoms and letting the worms die off naturally. Anti-parasitic drugs can make things worse, actually, if they kill the worm suddenly, because this can trigger a massive immune response in the brain. The rat lungworm, it's a tragic parasite. Not because of its cruelty, but because of a mistake. It doesn't actually want to attack us. It doesn't like us. We're not food for them. It wants ratties. They just simply get lost. But of course, that's little comfort to those who get infected with ratties. Now, if you want to design the perfect parasite for a horror film, you've got the name, rat lungworm. But maybe physically you'd want to come up with something more like the raccoon roundworm. These are microscopic. They're stealthy. And when they infect the wrong host, just like ratties, it doesn't just settle in the gut. It goes on a devastating tour of the brain, the eyes, and the internal organs, leaving chaos in its wake. Now, in raccoons, the worm is harmless enough. Adults live in the intestines, producing tens of thousands of eggs each day. These eggs pass out of the raccoon's feces, which, like a rat poo in previous stories, are everywhere that raccoons go, which is a lot of North America. Yards, attics, sandboxes, and sheds. After a few weeks in that environment, the eggs can become infectious and can survive for years, patiently waiting for a host. Now, humans, especially curious toddlers playing in contaminated dirt or sandpits, they can unknowingly ingest the microscopic eggs. Inside the body, the larvae hatch and begin to migrate, and that's where things really start to get terrifying. Unlike some parasites that specialize in one organ, raccoon roundworm larvae, they wander around aimlessly, chewing their way through tissue, seeking something that they'll never find. If they reach the brain, the result can be seizures, coma, and death. If they end up in the eyes, they'll cause blindness. And if they reach the spinal cord, it can cause paralysis. The condition is known as neutral larva migrans, and it's as awful as it sounds. There's no widely available diagnostic test while the larvae are still on the move. Doctors merely rely on symptoms and exposure history to make a diagnosis. And by the time the signs are clear, it's often too late for an effective intervention. Anti-parasitic drugs may help early in the infection, but once the larvae embeds itself in the brain or the other organs, damage is typically irreversible. Would you like some good news? I think we're all due for a little bit of good news. The good news is human infections are incredibly rare. Oh, there's some bad news as well. Sorry. Should have turned over the page. Always check the back of the page. The bad news is that when they do occur, the outcomes are often catastrophic, especially in children. Now, efforts to reduce risk focus on public education, avoiding raccoon toilets, and thoroughly washing your hands and surfaces, covering sandboxes, and not keeping raccoons as pets. Yes, I'm sorry for those of you keeping a raccoon as a pet. Maybe rethink that decision. Veterinarians also recommend deworming pet raccoons if they are kept legally. Well, there you go. You can keep Raccoony. Just make sure he's vaccinated. Now, Baylis, this is the name of the disease. It's called Baylisoceriasis pronsonorosus. That's not right. It doesn't mean to be a killer. It In raccoons, it thrives in pigs. It doesn't really even hurt the raccoon. But when it crosses species lines, it becomes a parasite of unhinged, microscopic, mindless, and devastating results. Here's one you might have heard of before. It's a pretty... when we talk about parasites, this is kind of like the standard. We're talking tapeworms. Some of you might have had a tapeworm before. I haven't been lucky enough to have a tapeworm. I've heard that it's great because you can lose a lot of weight. That's a joke. Don't actually go out and do that. I know in multiple sitcoms, people like eat a tapeworm to like lose some weight. I actually don't think it was a sitcom. I think it was just like a YouTube video. Anyway, let's talk about tapeworms. Now, tapeworms have haunted the human tummy for a millennia. They're ancient, elegant in their design, and they are disturbingly efficient. Now, whilst most parasites settle for biting, burrowing, or bleeding, the tapeworm, it takes a different approach. It doesn't attack, it simply moves in, uninvited, like a bad roommate, and it starts absorbing your food. Wow, exactly like a bad roommate. I had a roommate once, I hope they don't hear this, they only ever ate Milo cereal and sausage rolls. And the other one only ate mandarins. I don't know how well they're doing right now. Tapeworms are flatworms from the class Cestoda, and they can be astonishingly long. Some species grow up to 25 meters inside the human intestines. They don't have a mouth, and they don't have a digestive tract. Instead, they anchor themselves to the intestinal wall with barbed, sucker-lined heads called scolexes and absorb nutrients through their skin. As long as you eat, they eat. It's like a baby. It's like a one-sided relationship with a terrifying endurance. These worms are made of repeating segments called pronglotids, each one filled with reproductive organs. A mature tapeworm sheds hundreds or thousands of these egg-filled segments, which exit the host bodies with the poo. The script says feces, but I wanted to say poo because it's funny. If the eggs are eaten by a suitable intermediate host, say a cow or a pig, then they hatch into larvae, burrow into the tissue, and form cysts. When humans eat undercooked meat from an infected animal, the cycle completes. The larvae worm is woken up in the gut and they grow into adults. This result is a condition called teniasis. Now, most of the time, teniasis is surprisingly quiet. Some people experience abdominal discomfort, nausea, or weight loss, and others don't feel anything at all, until one day they notice something squirming in their poo-poo. That's very gross. It's kind of alien, and in many cases, it's manageable with anti-parasitic medication. But sometimes, this can go horribly wrong. Now, we're going to talk about what happens when a tapeworm goes to your brain. It's called neurocysteriasis. Cysteriasis, I think is probably how you'd say it. Neurocysteriasis, let's call it that. That sounds right. In its larval form, the pork tapeworm doesn't just wait patiently in pigs. If its eggs are ingested by a human instead of a pig, the body mistakenly plays the role of the intermediate host. The tapeworm doesn't grow in the intestines. Instead, the larvae hatch inside of you, entering the bloodstream. And they migrate often to the muscles, eyes, spine, or brain. They settle in and they form cysts. This is called cysteriasis. And when it reaches the central nervous system, it becomes neurocysteriasis, a devastating, often deadly condition. These cysts may remain silent for years, hiding like a ticking time bomb. But when they die, either naturally or from treatment, the immune system reacts with fury. The inflammation that follows can cause epileptic seizures, severe headaches, hydrocephalus, something to do with that, confusion, and even death. In some parts of the world, particularly in Latin America, India, and sub-Saharan Africa, neurocysteriasis is a leading cause of adult-onset epilepsy. And it's not just a tropical disease. With increasing global migration and travel, cases have been documented across the United States, Europe, and Australia. And here's the actual kicker. You don't actually need to eat pork to get this. Sorry, Jews. Sorry, Muslims. Have you noticed that those guys both don't eat pork? Maybe they should talk about that. You just solved the problem in the Middle East, boys. They don't eat pigs. We don't eat pigs. Damn it, that's a Tim Minchin song. I stole that. I thought it was really clever for a second. Anyway, even if you are kosher, it's not going to help because you don't need to eat the pork to get this disease. You just need to ingest microscopic eggs, often from water, food, or surfaces contaminated by human feces. Now, in some cases, people have infected themselves by poor hygiene after harboring a tapeworm in their own gut. Diagnosis requires brain imaging, CT scans or MRIs, and blood tests, but the symptoms often mimic other neurological conditions. The treatment for this is complex. Anti-parasitic drugs like albendazole and praziquantel can help, but they must be paired with steroids to blunt the immune response. In some cases, surgical removal of the cysts is the only true option, but not all cysts are operable. Some remain embedded in delicate or inaccessible brain regions. Some rupture, some calcify, and some kill. Now, tapeworms have long been seen as low-tier parasites. They're gross, but they're manageable. Almost comically simple in their quiet theft of calories. But they don't just steal your nutrients. Under the right conditions, it can steal your brain. So the next time someone jokes about eating for two, just remember, the tapeworm doesn't actually want your food. It just wants a home. We're also going to talk about one more now called, now this is a hard one to pronounce, Ascaris lumbricoides. Yes, Ascaris lumbricoides is a giant roundworm infecting perhaps 1 billion people globally. Eggs swallowed from dirty soil leads to larvae through the lungs and into the intestines. Massive infections can trigger bowel obstruction, malnutrition, respiratory issues, and even death. Hookworms. You've probably heard of these as well. Hookworm larvae penetrate bare skin, usually the feet, and then travel via blood to lungs and throat before reaching the gut. They drain the blood, causing anemia, developing delays in children, and even heart and liver damage. Still a scourge in warm and poor regions, especially where people don't wear their shoes, like at the beach or the park, for example. We also have lymphatic filariasis, which is transmitted by mosquitoes. These thread-like worms clog the lymphatic vessels over the years, causing extreme swelling, elephantitis, disfiguration, and disabling millions. Of all the human parasites, this one might be the most classic, and it's the most unsettling to its sheer scale. This intestinal roundworm doesn't go stealth. It actually grows large, reproducing freely, and can number in the dozens within the first single human host. Fully grown, they can reach 30 to 40 centimeters in length, which is long enough to stretch from your wrist to your shoulder, coiled around your small intestine. The infection starts as many parasitic stories do, with a mouthful of contaminated food or water. Their eggs are microscopic and resilient, shedding in the feces of infected individuals, and often present in environments with poor sanitation. Once swallowed, the eggs don't hatch in the snails in the small intestine. They release larvae that don't stay put. They burrow through the intestinal wall, entering the bloodstream, and they head for the lungs. There they mature further. Then, in a move that's both poetic and fucking disgusting, they can crawl up your windpipe, triggering a cough reflex that sends them into the mouth, where they are swallowed again and finally return to the intestines to reach adulthood. It's similar to the rat lungworm. It's a full body loop, equal parts science and horror. Now, in low numbers, Ascaris can be symptomless, but in heavier infections, the worms twist together in great pale knots, blocking the intestines or crawling up into the stomach and throat. Children are especially vulnerable. Many suffer from malnutrition, stunted growth, and persistent belly pain. In rare cases, the worm can actually exit through the nose or the mouth, which is a real nightmare. That I'm sorry that I've told you that exists. I'm very, very sorry. In parts of the world where sanitation is poor and children play barefoot in the dirt, this parasite remains a common and grotesque childhood companion. A worm that doesn't just live in you, but takes over your digestive tract like a slowly writhing invasion force. Now, we've talked about a lot of really gross things today, but it's important. I'll tell you why this matters. The horror of parasites, it lies not just in their biology, but in how they spread. In polluted water, in raw food, soil contact, insect bites, or interaction with animal hosts. Many victims are asymptomatic until irreversible damage arises, and yet these worms continue to devastate the most vulnerable: children, rural poor people, or travelers who don't take precautions. Now, there's some ways that you can avoid these disgusting little critters. Prevent, detect, and treat. Clean water, meat that is thoroughly cooked, and hygiene, including hand washing, are the front lines of defenses. You should always avoid swimming or washing in unknown fresh water, especially where schistosomiasis and snails are common. Beware raw snails, crustaceans, or berries on the forest floor. And of course, there's a bunch of medical treatments that you can use that are tailored to the specific species and infection. Neutral infections may require months of care and monitoring. Early detection here is vital. We often on this podcast imagine man-eaters as terrifying giants like tigers or leopards, awful creatures of the night like wolves. But really, when we talk about animals that cause us harm, few are as insidious as parasitic worms that live inside us. These are silent, unassuming, and their actions are hidden yet catastrophic. From the guinea worm's painful, slow emergence to a tapeworm's cyst-triggering seizures to brain-eating raccoon or rat worms, these parasites remind us that our own bodies can be a battleground. It's important to always stay alert, stay informed, because in the shadows, and sometimes in your poo-poo, some of the deadliest beings are there, almost invisible. Well, that was disgusting. Hope you didn't mind hearing me talk about worms and poo and rat lungworms and all that. Really good stuff. But, I will reiterate my point. A man-eater doesn't just have to be an animal that eats you from the outside. Sometimes they eat you from the inside, too. Wow. It's kind of beautiful, actually. It's kind of poetic. I'm going to write that down for my wife's next Valentine's card. It's beautiful. I'm impressed with myself. All right, we're going to get on to our next segment, which is, of course, the Scratch of the Day. We have a lot to get through right now, so I'm going to read you one story that I found, and then I actually have a list of stories that have been sent in to me by loyal listeners such as yourselves. So we're going to start off with this one's from Canadian Occupational Safety, a website that focuses on that, and the headline reads, "Worker punches cougar in the face, survives animal's attack." And when I read that headline, how do you expect me to not cover this story? Let's read what happened. A worker in British Columbia recently survived a cougar attack by fighting back, according to provincial government organisation. The incident occurred on Sunday, according to the Conservation Officer Service, the COS, the COS, like my favourite lettuce. At approximately 11 a.m., the man was working in the Lake Catherine area when a cougar approached him and swiped at his upper body. The worker, quote, punched at the cougar in the face and it disengaged, he told the government agency. The worker sustained non-life-threatening injuries that did not require medical treatment in a hospital. Quote, it's Canadian. How do you do a Canadian accent again? Oh, I'm sorry. COs responded to the area, but the cougar was seen. I don't think this is Canadian at all. A live trap was deployed in the area. Should I do the Canadian from South Park? COs attended the area, buddy. No, that's bad. I'm just going to read it in my own voice. I'm tired. COs attended the area again this morning with hounds, but no cougar was located, said the provincial government body. The COS is continuing to monitor cougar activity in the area, and it will respond as necessary to ensure public safety. The COS also thanked the Royal Canadian Mounted Police for their assistance in the incident. Locals can report cougar attacks and aggressive behavior to the Report All Poachers and Polluters, or the RAP, R-A-P-P, like my favorite kind of music. Meanwhile, anyone who encounters a cougar should, quote, keep calm and never run. Instead, you should make yourself look as large as possible and back away slowly, keeping the cougar in view and allowing a clear exit for the animal. If you are attacked, the group says always fight back and never play dead. Okay. So we're going to move on now to, well, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 3 or 4 to get to. I'm going to go down the list. Chris over on the Instagram sent me a story. Where are you, Chris? Sent me this today. He says, I don't know what's happening this week, but I opened my Google and this story is on my newsfeed. The story headline reads, Man mauled by black bear while walking dog. Marks the second attack in a week. There you go. Oh, and I'm scrolling up a little bit further on Wednesday. Chris also sent me this. He said, Hey, Jimberly, saw this article from a couple days ago. A man hospitalized with life-threatening injuries after a grizzly bear attack in BC. He also says, congrats on the wedding. Thank you. Okay, let's read the second article because it's probably going to include some information that was in the first one. So, man mauled by black bear while walking dog marks the second attack in 1 week. A man was mauled by a black bear while walking his dog in a wooded area, marking the second attack in Anchorage, Alaska in 1 week, according to local police. Officials responded to a call about a bear attack at approximately 9:10 a.m. on Saturday at the Barbara Falls Trailhead, Anchorage Police Department said in a statement sent to ABC News. Another person on the trail who did not see the attack found the victim, according to officials. He has sustained injuries to his arms, they noticed. The man was walking his dog along the trail when a, quote, black bear and her cub came out of the wooded area. His dog, quote, gave him enough time to deploy the bear spray, but he told officials the attack, quote, happened so suddenly, authorities said. It is not unclear whether the dog was on a leash or not. Officials said they believe the bear attacked the man to protect his cub. Bears are very protective of their cubs, Christopher Barraza, the Deputy Director of Community Relations for the Anchorage Police Department, told ABC News. The Alaska Department of Fish and Game was at the scene looking for the bear on Saturday, but there have been no updates on whether the bear has been located. The male victim, who has not yet been identified by police, is in a stable condition and was medically cleared to return home the same day as the incident. This follows a woman being rescued after she was reportedly attacked by a brown bear on July 22nd while hiking along the Dome Trail in Anchorage, the local police department confirmed to ABC News last week. The brown bear ran off after the incident, and the hiker was hospitalized in a stable condition the day after the incident. The woman's condition as of Wednesday remains unclear. Last week, officials said hikers in Anchorage are encouraged to file trip plans with friends or family prior to trekking off into the great outdoors, and recommended people leave a copy of their trip plans underneath their vehicle's windshield. That's actually a very good idea. With both black and brown bears living within the municipality of Anchorage, the local Parks and Recreation Department provides tips to keep in mind while recreating in any park or trail in the area. They include remaining in groups, making lots of noise, carrying bear spray, and leashing all dogs, and to never, ever run from a bear. Quote, stop, group up, talk to the bear, and let it know that you are human, Anchorage Parks and Recreation said on its website. According to the National Park Service, the majority of bear attacks occur not because the animal is hunting a human, but where it feels threatened or is protecting its young. The only exception is if the bear is suffering from a very severe starvation. There you go. Chris, thank you. Thank you so much. Chris sends a lot of stuff through. I'll say that. Legend. Thank you for that story. Very good. Moving on to another person over on the Instagram. By the way, the Instagram is at Maneaters Podcast, and you should follow me over there. For no other reason that you can send me stuff like this, like Misty has done. Misty also sent me this. Missy sent a really lovely message a while ago, actually, but followed up with a message to this morning, actually, at 7:24 a.m. my time. I think you must be overseas. And I'd actually seen this TikTok before. It's a dude talking about octopus cities. I'm going to look that up now because it's such a crazy thing. But yeah, apparently, this is the thing. And I make it my business to know shit like this, and I didn't know this. Octopolis and Atlantis. They're two non-human settlements occupied by gloomy octopuses. That's just an octopus who's depressed, by the way. No, I'm just kidding. In Jervis Bay, which is actually not far from where I live, on the south coast of New South Wales. Well, it's far. I mean, it's like an hour or two away, but The first site, named Octopolis by biologists, was found in 2009. Octopolis consists of a bed of shells, mainly scallop shells, in an ellipse shape, 2 to 3 meters in diameter on its longer axis, with a single piece of anthropogenic detritus believed to be scrap metal within the site. Octopuses build dens by burrowing into the shell bed. The shells appear to provide much better building material for the octopuses than the fine sediment around the site. Up to 14 octopuses have been seen at Octopolis at a single time. In 2016, a second settlement was found nearby, named Octalantis, which includes no human-made objects and can house a similar number of octopuses. Both sites are within the Buduri National Park. Some media accounts have described these sites as octopus cities, but researchers who have worked on these sites view these as a misleading analogy. There you fucking go. See also, cephalopod intelligence, okay, that makes sense, and Octopus's Garden, a 1969 song written by the Beatles. Ringo Starr wrote the song after learning about how octopuses travel along the seabed, picking up stones and shiny objects to build gardens. Oh, that's nice. Very good. Thank you, Misty, for that one. Braden, I believe Braden also on the Instagram. Let me check it. Yes, Braden sent me another story. Well, he actually sent me some ideas for Dead Funny, which was really nice. I haven't done anything with Dead Funny for a while, but I think I will do another episode soon if I can find some time. Now, he did send me this, though. A mountain lion attacks a 4-year-old at Olympic National Park. So let's have a look at that one. Mountain lion. He didn't send me a link, just a screenshot. Attacks 4-year-old. Let's see if anything comes up. Let's go to the news. Oh, yeah. 4-year-old bitten by mountain lion at National Park. Let's read that one. Thank you, Braden. Oh, Brayson, sorry. The least I could do is get your... Wait, is it Brayson or Braden? What am I reading? Brayson. I wrote down Braden. Sorry, Brayson. Jesus. The least I could do is get your name right. You've been a day one listener. I feel terrible. I'm so sorry. Okay. 4-year-old bitten by mountain lion at National Park. A 4-year-old child was attacked by a mountain lion at a national park in Washington, officials said. This is Washington State, not the DC. The incident occurred Sunday afternoon in Olympic National Park near the Victoria Overlook area on Hurricane Ridge, according to the National Park Service. The child was bitten by the mountain lion while walking with their family on a popular trail. Paramedics and park staff responded and transferred the victim via an air ambulance to Seattle Hospital, where the child is undergoing treatment, park officials said on Monday. No additional details on the child have been released to protect their privacy. Following that attack, park rangers immediately began searching for the collared cougar, which was located and dispatched on Monday morning. Quote, "There are no current threats to the public. The incident does remain under investigation." I wonder if saying dispatched means that they killed it. That's a very sanitized way of saying that, isn't it? A couple more lovely messages to get through. Haley from the UK, actually my counterpart, Haley, in Newcastle, UK. I'm obviously from Newcastle, Australia, and you're from UK, sent me a nice little update. I'm not going to read the whole email, but some ideas for episodes. She wants one just about hippos. I think that's a great idea. She said, I know most people don't actually realize how many people they kill every year. I think we haven't done a whole episode on hippos before. Well, we did a little bit. There's an episode really early on called Rivers of Blood, I think it was, where I talked about man killing animals in rivers like hippos and piranhas. But absolutely, we'll do one specifically on hippos because they're pretty cool. Also, not quite an attack one, but I've watched loads of documentaries about the amounts of dangerous animals kept as pets in different places. The USA being the biggest one. Yes. Maybe I should do a deep dive on how that happened as well. Very nice email. Oh, this is really cool. Oh, this is cute. Okay, so I don't keep up the crazy words and being you. Very nice. You're a very funny guy. Thank you. Anyway, I'm off to sleep. Recovery is long. Also, early pregnant. So you've got a brand new fan on the way too. Holy shit. That's so sweet. Oh man, we got like a little baby. What do we call the newborn fan? We'll call them little cubs. We'll call them little tiger cubs or something like that. That's very cute, Haley. Hope you're doing well. This was 2 days ago. She said, hopefully I get a shout out in time. I'm sure you will. Hopefully I get a shout out this time. Sorry if I didn't last time. But I think I did reply to you last time. I don't know. I get a lot of these now. But I still do my best to reply or put you on the pod as much as I can, anyone who's listening. So if you want to send an email through, you can, or a Facebook message or whatever. All the stuff is in the bullshit down below. You can see that. But yeah, thank you for that. I've read your whole email. I'm not going to read it all out on air, but I will reply to this when I get a moment. Thank you so much. Haley from the UK. And finally, Sigs sent a couple of emails. Where are we? A very long email was sent to me earlier this month. I was on my honeymoon at the time, so I didn't write back, but I will. But they've come up with a lot of suggestions for episodes, as well as episodes for Dead Funny as well, which is really cool. I'm really happy that a lot of you have been so keen on that show. I was worried that people wouldn't really like it. I know because I listen to a few podcasts, I'm a big fan of a few of them, and whenever they try something different, I'm kind of like, just, hey man, stick to your usual stick, okay? But so I do appreciate everyone being open-minded. Sig's also sent me a great shark quiz that we're not going to do today, but we might do another day. And finally, a news article on a Florida shark attack that she saw. So let me read this. It's a video. Let's play it with audio, and we'll see if you can listen to it. Okay, hold on.
This morning, you're seeing this first. Video showing the moment 10-year-old Jameson Reeder Jr. was brutally attacked by a 9-foot bull shark, losing his right leg.
Damn.
Jameson Jr. was holding a GoPro camera, capturing this footage of a turtle as he snorkeled in Lou Key, near Big Pine Key in the Florida Keys.
Gosh, that was just awesome. Oh, beautiful turtle. Goodbye.
In just seconds, the unthinkable happened. The camera drops to the ocean floor. You can see the shark's fin as it bites the lower part of the boy's leg.
Once it started shaking me, it yanked my head back.
Now, nearly 3 years after the day that changed their lives forever, the Reeder family sharing their story in a new book, Rescue at the Reef, speaking with our Victor Okendo.
Message is, there is hope and healing.
The Reeders first spoke with ABC News just 3 weeks after Jameson Jr. was attacked. Still in intense pain, Jameson squeezing a stuffed animal named Hedgie as he felt a sharp sting in his leg.
When I squeeze, the pain goes away.
Good job, yes.
Now 13 years old, Jameson has had 6 surgeries.
Okay. I'm not gonna. It's a very long video. It's like another 2 minutes. You get the gist. This kid lost his leg. Very, very sad. Yeah, really good. I'm gonna watch the rest of that later on. You can look it up too. Video shows moment boy attacked by shark in Florida Keys is the headline. If you just Google that, you'll find it. Thank you so much to Sigs for that and for all the other stuff too. There's been a few people who've sent really lovely messages through who I haven't replied to, and I feel bad. I will endeavor to get back to people as best I can, as quickly as I can. But like I said at the outset, I'm a little bit snowed under at the moment. Work has been pretty crazy. Not really loving it, to be honest. I'll tell you what, I'd love to be doing this full time. So if you would like to help that dream come true, you can go visit the Patreon, patreon.com/maneaters, and you can support the show for as little as the cost of a whole lot of toothpicks. You can support me every month. Come on, you don't need those toothpicks. You only got so many teeth. You don't need to be picking at them all day. I don't like e-begging, so I'll stop. But I just want to say, obviously, if you can't afford to do that, don't do it. But if you are like, hey, if you're wealthy and rich, man, you should invest. Email me. Be my business partner. You give me money. I continue to do the show that I've been doing for free, but instead I get paid for it. And what do you get out of it? You get a warm and fuzzy feeling. That's probably not good enough. What'll I give you? I mean, I'm probably willing to give you a blowjob once a year. I'll prostitute myself out. I don't give a fuck. It would make this podcast sex work. And sex work is real work. And podcasting is real work too. Yeah, I guess if you're like moderately healthy, I'd blow you. I don't want to blow like a gross old man though. So like, I'd go down on a gross old lady if it meant doing this full time. So that's my career plan, guys. What about you? What's your plans for the future? Let me know in the comments below. All right, gang. That's going to do it for another week. I will try to be back with another episode as soon as I can. It might be another 2-week wait, though. I apologize. But until then, I love you lots. Stay safe out there. Because as we've learned, ooh, daddy, it's a jungle out there.